Hi, I'm Beth Graves, and thank you for joining us on the Circus Arts Spotlight. Each week, we'll shine the spotlight on the people, programs, and events of the Circus Arts Conservatory. In addition to professional and student youth performances, we'll explore incredible outreach programs and learn how the circus arts impact so many aspects of life. For more information on today's topic, or anything circus arts related, please go to our website, circusarts.org. Now, let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the Circus Arts Spotlight. Today we're going to speak with Jennifer Lemmer Posey. She's the Tibbals Curator of Circus at the John and Mable Ringling Museum of Art. With research interests focused on the relationship of the circus arts, mass media, and popular culture, she has contributed to many publications and journals. She has also served as editor for Bandwagon, the Journal of the Circus Historical Society, and was an advisory scholar for the Smithsonian Folklife Festival in 2017. That was the Smithsonian Folklife Festival in 2017. So hi, Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, Beth. I am thrilled to be here today. It's always nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. So first off, I'd like to talk a little bit about your background and find out how you got involved in circus.
Well, I kind of blundered my way into circus. I found myself finishing up a master's degree in art history, and an opportunity came up to do a summer internship at the Ringling Museum in Sarasota. And I was familiar with the museum and its amazing collection of Baroque and Renaissance artwork, which was not my thing. And so I said, well, I'd love to come and be an intern, but I'm really interested in American folk arts and in cultures and communities that make art together. So could I intern at the Circus Museum? And I did. And then all of a sudden they needed someone to help with a big project. And that was 18 years ago. And here I am today.
Wow, I did not know that. That's really a cool story. So
yeah, life takes you in interesting places.
Right. So I'll bet when you were young, did you ever imagine you would be the curator of a circus museum?
Well, when I was young, I would have never even thought there was such a thing, first of all, right? A curator of the Circus Museum. And I didn't. I was studying art history with this idea of perhaps being a curator, but my focus was always on the visual art field, or maybe of teaching on a college level. That was where my head was. And then this one summer internship, I enjoyed it thoroughly. And when I got a call that they needed someone to help with a bigger project to catalog a major circus collection, honestly, I was finishing up my master's degree, and I really felt that a master's in art history, one should take job opportunities that were kind of tossed at you. It felt like the right thing to do. Yeah, right. I mean, it was that or keep going to school, which interested me, but financially taking a job for a while seemed smart. I didn't really dream at that time that it would become my lifelong career. I knew it was a magical world related to the circus, but it's not until you have time to experience it that you really, I don't know, that you become drawn into it in a way that you don't ever want to leave it.
Right. Yeah, people are like that with the circus. Once they start getting involved, it almost overtakes them. They just become passionate about it.
Well, you've had the same experience, right?
Yeah, when I worked at the Ringling Museum many years ago, exactly. Mm-hmm. So are there any challenges that you face as the curator of a circus museum?
Any job has its challenges. I'm sure of that. I think for me, the challenge, I suppose, and I'm not sure that's the way I would term it, is always to try and convert everyone else, right? I've fallen in love with this world of the circus and the community, and so I see it as kind of part of my job that I get to share that story with people who walk into our galleries who maybe don't already know all of the wonders of the circus or have an assumption of what circus means. And so I see it as a fun challenge to try and broaden those ideas and help people see something of themselves or something that captures their interest and curiosity in the stories of the circus and its history.
Right. And really, there is pretty much something for everybody in the stories of the circus. I mean, you may not realize that at first, but really, truly, whether it's like I was talking to Kelly previously, and she was talking about schooling while she traveled with the circus, and that was so interesting. But from the schooling to the actual performers to the food preparation, I mean, there's really, truly the props. There's something for everybody if you really look into it.
There is. The circus is a whole world in microcosm, and at the same time, it represents the whole world. It's such a global experience. I never meet a circus person without hearing about an experience that transcends, an American feeling. It's always this bigger picture of the world through this one very discrete community. So that's to me magical, and I do think, like you said, it's a way anybody who wants to find something of their interest can find it in circus.
Yeah. So I understand that there were some renovations made recently to the Circus Museum at the Ringling. Can you tell us about that?
I certainly can. So it was mostly a reinstallation of the galleries. The original Circus Museum was not John Ringling's idea. It was put in place by the museum's first director, Chick Austin, and it opened in 1948 to kind of tell the backstory of how John Ringling had come to have the property in Sarasota and to build his art museum and his home. So the Circus Museum has been there on the property for a very long time, and the building, the initial galleries were actually part of the estate's garage, this old bunker of a garage, to which was added a half-round rotunda space, and then other things kind of cobbled together over the years. So this building is older and needed some work for the facility itself to make sure that it was a good environment for storing our collections. And that gave us the opportunity to just go in and freshen up the interior. So we did change a few walls on the inside, but there weren't major structural changes per se. It was mostly brightening up the galleries. Everything was kind of dark in there compared to our newer building, the Tibbals Learning Center. And so we lightened up galleries, got fresh paint on everything. And just to do that, we actually had to move everything that was on display, which for those of you who haven't been able to visit our circus museum, we have a lot of wagons, historic wagons that were used by American circuses. So these giant wagons had to be rolled out of the spaces they were in to allow us to paint them. And that gave us the opportunity to bring everything back in a new way and just change up how people experience a lot of these objects. It also gave me the opportunity to bring out on display a lot of objects that have never been shown, at least in the 20 years that I've been around the museum. So it's just an exciting time to refocus on our collections.
That sounds great. I can't wait to visit when it opens again.
Yeah.
And get to see everything that was done.
Yeah,
so,
it's such a great collection. So it was just wonderful to be back in there working with them again.
And then there's also, that's the building that houses the Ringling's train car. Is that correct?
Yeah, you called me on that, Beth. The Wisconsin Railroad car is a 1905 Pullman Railroad car. It was the private car of John and Mable Ringling. And that would actually be the one object in our collection that we didn't move in order to do this project. So
it would probably be really hard to move.
It's an 80-foot long railroad car on a short run of tracks that just accommodate the length of the car. So I guess it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be extraordinarily difficult to move. So for the project, we had to wrap the Wisconsin car to be sure that we protected it from paint and debris and anything that was happening. And so now it's unwrapped again, and it's, in all of its glory. It's a beautiful jewel box of a railroad car. And like we were saying earlier, for some people who may not think that they're really into circus, you say railroad car, and that gets a whole different level of attention. Right.
And it is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, thank you. It's a special piece.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering about other circus museums in the world. If there are some, which I would assume there are some other circus museums, and I'm wondering if you've gotten to visit them.
So the only other circus museum I have actually had the chance to visit is Circus World Museum in Baraboo, Wisconsin. And that museum is actually built on the site of the original winter quarters for the Ringling brothers. So it's this beautiful tranquil area, and you can imagine these young brothers dreaming of big things in the entertainment world coming out of Baraboo. So that one's extraordinary. They have magnificent wagons and posters and costumes. They're kind of comparable to the Ringling in that we do a lot with American circus history. But the first circus museum that I know of founded in the world was started in 1928 in St. Petersburg, Russia. And it's one of many collections that are throughout Europe because the circus tradition is so long. The difference for those collections, though, is that they are almost all situated within a performance building. So, for instance, the one in St. Petersburg is part of the historic circus building there in the city. And so you can visit the collection as you're attending performances, and you can arrange to go do research in them. But it's a little bit different structure than what we have for museums here in the States.
Ah, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wonder if anybody has
St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like a European circus museum tour, that somebody has ever done, where they've just visited a lot of them.
So I bet some individuals have, absolutely.
Yeah, I just think that sounds like it could be really fun. It'd be different, kind of like in this country, people visit all of the baseball museums, the baseball stadiums they can.
Right. I like
so
that idea. That maybe we should work on putting that together, right? That would be a great trip.
Yeah, that would be. I'm sure a lot of people would be into that. I'm sorry. What are some of the favorite exhibits or exhibitions that you've had at the Ringling?
So for exhibitions at the Ringling now, of course, our museum encompasses art and history. So there's been wonderful art exhibitions in all kinds of different disciplines at the museum. My favorite, just because I'm biased, of course, has been the ones that look at that marriage of circus and the visual arts. So we had an amazing exhibition of circus posters a number of years ago from the Strobers Lithographing Company. And that, again, was looking at the art of commercial printing, which the circuses really pioneered in the end of the 19th century. So that was really cool, just to think about these posters both as functional objects of advertising, but also as beautiful designs. And then we have an extraordinary collection of glass plate negatives that were taken by a photographer named Frederick Glazier in mostly the very early 20th century, a little bit into the 19th. And Glazier was a circus fan, but he was also a commercial photographer. So he'd go out to the lots with these glass plates and a giant camera to take the photographs. And he really understood the world of circus. So he captured very special moments, but he also had an extraordinary eye for light and composition. So the photographs are just beautiful pieces of art as well as really amazing historic documents. So those are the kinds of things I'm drawn to, is where you can kind of marry together these important historical ideas with beautifully made things.
And was that a temporary exhibition, that Glazier, or are there some of his photographs always on display?
So because the glass plate negatives are part of our permanent collection, we have over 1,800 glass plates from Frederick Glazier. Yeah, they're amazing. They've survived is so incredible. So we almost always have some example of his photography in the galleries because they're really good to help us illustrate all kinds of stories. In fact, in the reinstallation of the historic galleries, I've actually enlarged one of his photos of the inside of the Big Top around 1903. So you get a sense of what it was like to walk into that giant empty tent. So you can always see a little bit of his photography, but we did have one special focused temporary exhibition that was out for a number of months.
That's really, really interesting. And then one of your very well-known exhibits is the world's largest miniature circus. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I do. So that's kind of where my affiliation with the museum started, was working with Howard Tibbals and his circus collection. Howard Tibbals grew up in Tennessee and West Virginia, and he remembers from early childhood the circus coming to town. And unlike me, who looks at the performers and their beautiful costumes, Howard was mesmerized by the logistics. How did they move this big tented city every single day?